afternoon. Welcome to Weymouth, Massachusetts. Thank you, St. Andrew's Yardley, for making another one of these concerts happen. Yardley is just outside of my hometown of Philadelphia. 215, represent. So it's really wonderful to play for that community because in a certain way that feels like my community still. And it's wonderful to be broadcasting, which is where I live now. This is my really lovely studio that I know. And to whomever else is watching, because I know there might be some people in Cleveland and maybe even in the old world over in Europe, I'm not sure. But it's really, really wonderful to be with you. The last time I did one of these, I thought we might be out by now. Really, euphemistically, I thought we would be out. We are not. So we've all gotten better at video content. I'll leave it at that. So it's really wonderful to be able to bring you a concert. I did say I would only play the Broadwood, but I decided to play the Virginal again because it's so much fun. And now that will make the concert a bit of an English thing to start out with, because I'm going to play some pieces from the Fitzwilliam Virginal book, which features English composers. I'm going to be playing a piece called The New Sahu. That is really what it's called, The New Sahu. I'm not sure what a Sahu is, and it was very long ago that these pieces were written and nobody seems to know. But that's fun, and I'll be playing a really moving piece called Roland by William Byrd, which, as far as I can tell, my friend Tobin Anderson, author M.T. Anderson, did some research for me last night. It seems that maybe this is a lament for an 8th century, 9th century king who got killed in battle. And so centuries go on and they're still writing pieces for this person. But his story becomes the story for Orlando, if that's a thing you know. But no song seems to be available, so you have to imagine your own sad text as you listen to this. And the last piece is by Anonymous. You know nothing about Anonymous. This is Watkins Ale. I am a silly person sometimes, and not having an audience here is hard for me because now I'm just being silly. But now I'll be very serious. I hope you enjoy this music on the Virginal. Seems weird not to though. I'm going to come around to the other side and check my camera angle here. Just excuse me for a minute. Ah. It seems good. I saw some little bubbles with people's heads in it, and Coffee McGaskill, who I went to high school with, and we sat in the viola section together. I see you. It's very nice. And I saw Reverend Greer. Thank you so much, Reverend Hillary, for making these happen. And Denise Glospie, who twice now has sat on the phone with me and told me how to do this. She's their amazing technical person over there. They're very lucky, and I'm very lucky that Denise is very patient and kind. Thank you for Denise. So I'm going to continue with some Johann Christian Bach. I had thrown that out there last time that I would play some, and now I'm really going to do it. This is a piece in C minor, very tempestuous, probably fits some of our feelings right now. Johann Christian Bach is a composer you know. Johann Sebastian Bach, I'm so sorry. I'm going to start over. I also realized there's a phone in the room that may ring that I needed to use earlier, and I'm going to dispose of it. Excuse me for a moment. So sorry. So this is a piece by Johann Christian Bach. He was the last son, the youngest son of Johann Sebastian Bach. He was born in 1735. Therefore, he's a direct contemporary of Haydn. This is a composer that Mozart met when he was a young child touring Europe. And Johann Christian Bach was very kind to the young Mozart, and Mozart studied his works assiduously, not just as a small child, but as an adult. If you read his letters, he often talks about looking at something Johann Christian wrote, particularly his operas, and saying, oh, I like this setting very much of this text. I think I'm going to try one too. And when Johann Christian Bach passed away, Mozart said, what a loss for the world of music. And Mozart could be a bit acerbic about some of his contemporaries, but he had nothing but praise for Johann Christian Bach and his friend Joseph Haydn, whose music we'll hear later. So this sonata is in 3 movements. The first movement has no tempo indication. The second movement is andante, and the last movement is prestissimo. And when you hear the last movement, if it reminds you of a tarantella a little bit, remember that Johann Christian had some of his most formative music training in Italy, in Milan actually. So maybe that's a bit of that. Oh, and this is the 1806 Broadwood piano that my husband Dale Munchie restored. This is an actual antique, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. decided to start bowing because it's so weird to just finish. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. I will tell you now, for those of you who go to concerts and think that maybe your presence isn't part of the equation, it very much is. I often thank audiences. They thank me for the performance, and I say, oh, well, thank you for being such a good audience. And they say, well, you did all the work, but the energy that you get from people in the room with you, sort of helping you get there, that you can feel that. And so when it's not there, it's strange, but at a certain point I thought, no, they're there, and then, it gives you some energy. And I'm so glad that we do have the technology to be able to do this, so we keep plugging away. So I would like to play some Haydn for you. I didn't mention that Johann Christian Bach spent his professional life in London, and his piano was built in London, and those English works, were they all based in London? I don't know, actually. Farnaby, I have to look it up. So in my mind, this was a bit of an English keyboard program, but I might play some Mozart at the end, so we'll see. But Johann Christian Bach is known as the London Bach because there's Carl Philipp Emanuel. He is never known as the Berlin Bach, but not that I know of. But anyway, there were many Bach sons. He's a London Bach because he studied in Italy and then went to London, where he worked for the Queen and taught her and her daughters. And so if you look at the beginning of the title page of this piece, of these collections, this collection of pieces, you'll actually see that. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Really beautiful. Let me see. This is the title page to the first set of sonatas. You see angels and so on. And it says in very fancy French that these are pieces for the harpsichord or the fortepiano, and that Johann Christian Bach teaches the Queen and her daughters. Very similarly, this piano on the front of it also mentions royalty. It says, John Broadwood and Son, makers to His Majesty and the princesses. So this is getting the royal seal of approval, basically, if you can say that you work for the family. Haydn went to London first in 1791, and then again in 1794. And both of those times were really incredible for him. He got asked to come and write symphonies, and he was already very famous by the time he got to London, even though he'd never really traveled anywhere. And it was to the point when he got there that there were, people waiting to see him. He was really treated like a rock star. Nobody can believe it. He even showed up at somebody's house to visit this, aristocratic family, and he wrote to his friend in a letter that he showed up, and they all had his name written in their clothes in various ways. The husband of the house had the word Haydn, the name, stitched with those little metal beads on both sides of his collar, and all the women in the family had little headbands where Haydn was stitched, so that's rock star level. And he was very surprised by it, but they'd known his music for years. So when he got there, it was also probably like a second coming of Handel feeling. Here's this German composer coming, and they loved his music already. So, and he wrote his symphonies there, those London symphonies, which is so great. But he also wrote music for this type of piano, which was new for him. And the Viennese piano is very different from the English piano. This one in particular has 3 pedals that do strange things. The right pedal undamps the top, but leaves that damped. And the middle pedal does the opposite. This pedal makes things soft. It shifts the keyboard over so you're only hitting 1 or 2 strings instead of 3. Now, if I want to have the whole piano undamped, I have to depress 2 pedals, And the joke is, this is the only pair of shoes I own that is wide enough and secure enough to get both pedals down at the same time. So every Broadwood concert is a red patent leather heel concert. My husband restored this piano because of this strange damper configuration. This very instrument, because it's one of the first Broadwood built that could do that, is in a book about the history of the piano by Ernest Clausson. You can see a picture of this instrument. Dale got it for free because somebody didn't want it anymore and it didn't play. And they said, if you can move it, you can have it. So he moved it and fixed it, and I recorded a CD of Haydn London sonatas on this piano. So I call the piano Big Bessie, and I think she really wants to live. We don't even know her whole story, but she keeps ending up places where people will play her, so that's very good. I'm looking at the time. I'd like to do something that's really illegal in classical music world. I'd like to play the first two movements of Hoboken 50 by Haydn, written for a woman named Teresa Janssen Bartolozzi, who we made friends with in London, and then play the finale from another sonata, also in C major, altogether. And interestingly, I found that they have some thematic connections. So I'm doing it. This is not allowed in conservatory, but I'm going to do it. Times are different now. It's a time of lawlessness. Here we go. Oh, this is the only piece of Haydn that has damper pedal instructions. So that's part of the reason I'm playing it. He tells you to leave the pedal down for all that, and it sounds like Debussy. It's amazing. And there's another place where he does it too, and that's because for the first time he'd seen a piano that actually had pedals on the floor instead of knee levers. So, fun fact. I love Haydn. I do. This is a movement from a sonata in C major written about 20 years earlier. And the thematic thing I found that was similar for my music nerd friends. So, the opening of Hoboken 50 has this. And that's really weird, actually. People don't realize that nobody wrote stuff like that. This is a leaping seven, that's terrible. But of course, if Haydn does it, it sounds cool. But we have the very same thing here. So look at that there. I also think you must have been listening to playing some Scarlatti. I don't know. So you don't hear a lot of early Haydn then. Maybe that's a project for the next concert. I'll go back to the French double manual. So I thought for fun, I would play a movement of a Mozart duet with my husband, who, there he is, restored the piano, tuned the piano, waved at the people. Oh, and Denise wants to see a cat. I'm sure if we just leave the door open, a cat might show up.
They're all asleep on the bed.
Oh, see, this is when they rest. This is when we get some work done. So, I had wanted to play some Clementi, because Clementi was one of the most famous English pianists, although he came from Rome. And his father basically sold him to an English band. Can you find the D major? Which is crazy. And then Clementi went and became a really good harpsichordist and pianist. And he taught the woman for whom Haydn wrote those sonatas. But we're going to have to get that ready for another time and play something that we can play in our sleep, which is the first movement of the sonata for four hands in D major. Mozart, I think, clearly wrote this for he and his sister to play, and there's a lot of fun little shenanigans that go on in here. And so, yeah, I think we'll just do the one movement, first repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all so much for coming. I'll look at the comments later, and yeah, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll close with some Mozart. So please have us back. I have the feeling we'll be here and that this is how we're going to have to perform for a while. And I miss having an audience, but I'm so grateful that we can still get together in this way. Thank you so much to St. Andrew's Yardley, to Reverend Greer, to Denise Gosby, and to all of you who came. Thank you so much.